when you first took over the reins at Middlesbrough, I have to be honest, I thought my days are numbered as a player. Because I knew you as a kid. I used to look at you as a tough tackling midfielder. I was fairly lightweight, couldn't tackle a dinner. And I thought, oh, Bruce will have me off. But amazingly you didn't, you kept me.
Well, actually, the first game I saw was at Brighton, before I joined the club.
Brighton Hove Albion, yeah.
And I went down there with a brother to have a look at Middlesbrough play, because I'd applied for the job. And I thought, if I get the job, I want to have a look at the players first. And I went down to Brighton. And the two players I picked out on the day at Brighton, and I think you played in behind the front men, I think with yourself and Pally. They were the first two players I picked out in the team that day. And I came back, discussed it with my older brother in the car about the team, and I thought, yeah, we've got something here to work with. But I didn't know at that stage that I got the job as the coach. I applied for the coach's job because Willie Madron was the manager.
What made you stay? I mean, the club went into liquidation. You stayed put. Why did you stay?
Well, I think I stayed because I wanted work. I wanted the job. I knew from my history of football in England that Middlesbrough Football Club were getting crowds years ago of 40,000 and more. They could get 25,000 in the stadium if you got a good team. It was a big club in many respects. You know, you've got 3 clubs in the northeast, and I thought, if we can get this club up and running, then we can be successful, because it's big enough. You've got a fan base. I mean, that's the one thing, you've got a big fan base. And I looked at the players, and after Willie Madden left, once I got the job after Willie left, I think it was after 3 or 4 games, Willie resigned. And then we went into liquidation. I think I released 20 players and kept 14.
Right.
And we looked at all and I tell the story, we looked at all the players that we kept, and we looked not necessarily at the shirt number, we looked at them and used them as a dollar sign. A dollar sign meaning these players had value. Yourself, Peter Beagrie, Mogger, Pally, Gary Parkinson, Colin Cooper, Pearsie, Gilly, Peter Beagrie. We lost Peter actually. Peter went off to Sheffield United.
Did, yeah.
But we looked and said, it's a good group of players. The players that we're keeping, we can all enhance their abilities. We can improve them, and that will make them better players. But also, if we had to sell players, we would get a value for them. But also, we had a good group of players, Pally.
But at that time, obviously no money. Did you get paid?
No, not a penny, no.
I heard the story where you actually paid certain players.
I paid all the wages of the YTSs. I paid all the landladies' money. I paid for all the repairs to cars for Joe Hunt and Ken Smith.
That's right, Joe Hunt, yeah.
Paid all the landladies, paid all the digs monies. How did I find out that I'd lost my job? It's a nice little story actually. I may not have told you it before. I was on holiday in Mallorca with my children and my wife, and I'd been there 2 days, and the phone rang in the hotel, and I was asked to go to reception, and the receptionist gave me the phone, and I picked the phone up, and it was the liquidator from Middlesbrough, and he said, "I'm terribly sorry, but I have to inform you that you've lost your job." He said, we're terminating the agreement. I wasn't getting paid anyway. But he said to me, so you can 2 options really. You can work for the club for no wages, or you can go and find another club. So I'd only been on holiday 2 days, and I was standing there with a San Miguel.
Oh, some holiday.
And I thought, well, I've got another 12 days to spend here, so I may as well enjoy the holiday. So I said, I'll work for no pay. So I enjoyed the rest of the 12 days, went back, didn't say anything to Jane, carried on the holiday, came back and carried on with the club. And that's the way you find things out. But it was a great education, I mean, I have to say. And the number of times I was at Longlands College with you boys in the dressing room getting changed, and Toddy and I in the gym at the bottom end with all the horses and the machinery, and I'd say to Toddy, we'd be having a discussion, I'd say to him, when we walk out of this door, we've got to be the brightest 2 guys in the club, because the players need to see us that way. And that's how we were. Fantastic.
What about that strike force at the time? Archie Stevens, Bernie Slaven. Were you aware that Archie puffed 100 fags a day?
I found the dog ends in the toilet every day I went back for training. Yeah, I used to sweep it out. But Archie was a great pro, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Fantastic. And he was a good foil for you. I mean, we had I wouldn't say it's a little and large sort of scenario, but we had an orthodox centre forward, the old-fashioned type, who was who could take the pressure, take the stick, physically could cope. And then we had the other player, I mean yourself, who could play around him and play off him.
Get the crumbs if you like.
Yeah, and if Archie couldn't score off a direct header in a box, he could knock it down for supporting players. I think it was a good combination. And we had wide players who could deliver service, which you need. And, you know, how do goal scorers score goals. They score goals by facing the opposition goal, either by crosses, through balls, or they need ammunition, or they make it themselves. But they need to be facing the opponent's goal. And I think you have to give them the ammunition to score goals. You've scored goals. I was talking to the boys this morning on the training ground here at OB. I said, Bernie Slaven's coming from England. I said, 25 goal a season man at least for me at Middlesbrough. I said, but I had Sheringham at Millwall, 38 goals for me in the season.
That's right, yeah.
John McGinley, 34.
Yeah,
Andy Walker, 34. So I've been able to have players to give them the ammunition to score goals, which is the hardest thing to do in the game.
What about one of my memories years ago was we played Blackpool in a league game at Essen Park, and we got hammered 3-0.
Stuart played for Blackpool.
That's right.
Give Mulger a tough day.
We got hammered 3-0, and in the Monday, read the Gazette. We all had a nightmare, by the way, but I've read the Gazette, the local rag, and the Monday, and you've hammered me and Pally. The words were something like, Pallister can't go from one extreme to another, and Slaven should start showing us what he gets paid for.
Okay.
Now, a week later, there was FA Cup draw. The names came out the hat. Middlesbrough at home to Blackpool. And for the 2 weeks leading to that, I kept saying to Pally, we have to show him. Let's shove it. You know, Rioch, let's get him. And I think we made that point because we actually won the game 3-0 in the FA Cup. Can you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember. I can't remember saying the piece in the paper.
No, you did, because I've still got the cutting.
Yeah, I know. Well, but you never trust
I've actually used it in modern day players.
Yeah, was that Eric Paler?
That was the one.
Was that Eric Paler? I tell you what. Eric, if you're listening, Eric, you were a great guy. And but sometimes we do things to motivate players.
Of course.
But I don't do that now. I mean, again, being a young manager, and I sometimes felt then that making that point publicly would stiffen you up and maybe get the response out here that we probably got. But I don't do that nowadays. We now make it everything in the club private. A football club's a family, and what we say stays in the dressing room. So, but I guess at that time, being young, lots of enthusiasm, lots of energy, committed to winning football matches. I mean, you'd probably agree with that. I was totally committed to winning football matches.
Definitely.
And I probably thought they're young enough to cope with that sort of stinging criticism in the right way, but not necessarily right. I mean, we have to sometimes look back on our careers and say, what did we do that was right and what did we do that was wrong? But the bottom line on that occasion was that we ended up getting it right. But it doesn't necessarily endear players to coaches when they do that publicly, does it? No. But it's good that we're here today to still talk about it. You see, it's great. I'll tell you what's great about it. Every time I meet the boys from the borough, Nookie, Mogger, yourself, Peter, they can always remember a story. But the coaches can hardly remember them. Because there's so many things that happen personally to you guys, that you can remember. I can't. The only stories I can really remember at the borough are the things that happened in terms of the liquidation. You know, turning the water off, and they came and we drove the car over the manhole, so they couldn't turn the water off outside Essen Park gates, and those type of things, and going and taking all the training kit out. And I went up to Langley with the vans, and we bought bunches and bunches of training kit in a sale up at Langley from Hummel, and brought it all back. I can remember those sort of things to help the club. And I remember Pally lying on the treatment table
again
and having a neck injury and rubbing the cream on, and he said to me, what sort of cream are you rubbing on? I went, it's for athlete's foot. And for Parky, when he was sat on the table, and he had a little knock, and I came out of the doc's room. Remember, Doc had a little room, and I came out there and I had a syringe, and I just pressed the syringe, and that was it. Parky had gone, disappeared. So I can remember those sort of things. And the players, I can remember them. But
87-88 season, we continued to progress. How good was that? And was that better than you anticipated? Did you believe that we could?
Well, I think I always believe we can win games. I always believe we can be successful. I don't think it's not being arrogant, but I just think that the teams I'm with, if I get the right players and put them on the training ground and we work with them and put them together, round pegs and round holes, make sure they know their jobs, have the freedom to play the right way at the right time, I think I'll get results with them. And so I wasn't surprised with the team, not at all. I knew we had good players. I knew we had good players. The only thing we didn't know was how quickly they would grow from being 17, 18 like Coops and Parky and Rippers to the next stage. But they grew from boys to men very quickly, extremely quickly.
I remember one time we played Plymouth Argyle. I think we actually won the game, and you stood at the door. I was first off the park, I had a mare, and you've just watched me going by. The next 10 lads, you went, well done, well done, well done. You got the last man, you slammed it on, you went, you used a few harsh words I can't say. You all your teammates.
That.
You did say that. But I think you were right.
Do you know,
no, I think you were right. But that wasn't it.
Do you know what I've said just now? It's amazing how you remember the bad stories. You won't remember the good stories. But oh, did I say that to you?
No, you said no. But that was part of your motivational skill,
Yeah.
I think. We won the game. You've had a go at me. And then the following week, you put the team sheet up, or you've got all typed out with the secretary at the time. And number 7 was missing, and I'm looking at a team sheet, 1 to 11, it was the 2 subs then, wasn't it? And at the bottom, it was typed out, and if number 7 wishes to perform a day, he can fill the vacant space. And before I go to the dressing room to actually read it like that, somebody put Joe Hunt's name on the kit man at number 7. But I thought, why me? Why is he leaving me out? Surely other guys have had bad games.
I can remember many times I sat on the bench, and the coach would say to me, "You got to get him off." I said, "What do you mean?" He'd say, "You've got to get him off." I said, "Who?" He'd say, "Bernie, get him off."
Yeah.
We've only been playing 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I would say, "Who's our leading goal scorer?" I don't take my leading goal scorer off the pitch. I did now and again. A couple of times you came off.
Yeah.
But generally you don't take your goal scorers off because you know they win the games. But so I'm telling you stories that make you realise what I really thought of you.
Yeah, because there was one, we used to train, and every day you used to be on my case. What are you doing? Do this, do that. And I used to be one of the fitter lads at the time, didn't drink, smoke, I used to be up there. And you forever, and one day I turned around and I said, "Bruce, why are you always having a go at me?" And he says, when I stop having a go at you, you'll be out the club.
Yeah, you know I'll be, I think criticism of a player too often can bring them down. I think we've just talked about this in the dressing room. Yeah. We have to work so hard as player and coach to get you to a real high. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of work, not only technically, physically, but mentally, working with the players to get them high. And the longer you're in the game as a coach, the more you realise when they're up there, keep them there. Don't feel that you've got to bring them down a peg. Now, maybe in my early days, and that was really my early days of my career, maybe I thought sometimes, not just with yourself, but sometimes I got to bring them down a peg. Now we don't.
What about the Leicester game? Remember the Leicester last game of the season?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it was a heart-wrenching affair at the end of the season. 2-1, I think Leicester beat us. We got into the dressing room, we're gutted, and yours was filtered through, the other teams won. And I remember you saying, enjoy your weekend, get in here first thing Monday morning, fresh as daisies, and I want you to bring £100.
Actually, it's a little bit different to that, but
I'll
carry on.
change the story then.
A little bit different to that, because what happened was, I was really annoyed that the club had created a carnival situation.
It was a carnival because there was guys jumping out of
Carnival,
parachutes.
and I was saying to them, "Hey, we haven't won nothing yet. This is not a carnival." I was so annoyed that they'd created something, and it was motivating David Pleat and Leicester. And really what happened was we lost 2-1, and I can remember saying to the boys, "Get your shower, but don't leave the dressing room."
Yeah.
Because I went upstairs to see the press, and I knew I had to talk to the boys before you left the dressing room. And that's what we did. We spoke to you before you left the dressing room to say, "Listen, we've come this far, we've done brilliant, we're now going into the playoffs, and we can get up through the playoffs and we can win the playoffs." And we definitely did say we're going to have a round robin kitty of £100 each.
On ourselves,
on
which was
ourselves.
legal.
Absolutely, on ourselves.
But £100 was a lot of money. Some of us were only on £300 a week. But with no option.
I wasn't on anything. I borrowed it.
But it worked, didn't it? Was that part of the motivational thing, thinking they put their own money on?
Yeah, it's for you.
And it worked?
It did. And we had to do it the hard way. We had to go to Bradford City and then bring them at home.
Yeah, and then
we had to Chelsea at home and then Chelsea away.
Chelsea,
and I remember, Bernie, we played Chelsea at home. I think we won 2-0 at Chelsea at home.
At home.
And then we went down to Stamford Bridge.
They scored an early goal.
And in the morning at Stamford Bridge, before the game, I read the Telegraph, of all papers.
Posh paper.
Posh paper. And the writer said, in the Telegraph, he said, "Chelsea expect to win this game today, but they're going to play against a team that, in my opinion, has the greatest team spirit of all the teams in England."
Is that what it says?
He wrote that. And I read that and I thought, that's true.
Right.
Because we had an unbelievable spirit at that time.
Oh, we did.
Unbelievable.
And that was a great achievement, Bruce.
Yeah, unbelievable. And
the boys, second, first.
Yeah, phenomenal.
To put Chelsea down.
Ever so quick, really quick. And I remember that game. Leicester game was a big turning point for us, and I think in many ways, because you got to learn how to take defeat. You don't like it, but you got to learn to take it. But secondly, you got to taste what victory's like, and players had tasted victory in terms of promotion the season before, and we knew how to win. That's important.
With a bit of style.
A lot of style, a lot of class and style, but we knew how to win.
There was another funny occasion. Got one of the girls, the secretary, says, "Oh, Bruce wants to see you," and it was halfway through the season. I think I was doing well. I thought I was doing well. I'd scored 20 odd goals by that time. I was on my way to 30. I walked in with a swagger. Bruce wants to see me. I'm walking up the stairway thinking, "Oh, maybe he's got to give me a new contract, a rise." Now, it was all the good things were going through my mind, and he says, "Sit down," and I sat down, and you went, "How's things?" I says, "Fine." And you handed me this bit of paper, and I've read it. He says, and he says, before I read it, he says, "Before you read it, once you can do those things, you'll be a good player." And I read it: can't shoot, can't head, can't defend, appreciation of your teammates. I come out manic depression.
I tell you what, I'd love to see those copies. I'd love to see them.
I've got the copy.
Have you got them?
I've got a copy. I'm going to show you after this.
Put it in the book.
It's in the book.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Definitely in the book. I thought it was great.
Okay.
Seriously, no, because of you. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I think I needed a guy like you to help me. If I would have had a nicer, softer man, I don't think I'd have worked for him.
No, but I needed a guy like you to win the games to help my career too. So actually we did ourselves a good favour.
Yeah, as I say, you want to give praise lightly. Aston Villa, I mean, it was the Zenith Cup semi-final.
Yeah.
It was a big game for all concerned.
Yeah.
Could lead us to our first ever Wembley final. I was fortunate enough to score that night. You actually said it was a good goal.
A great goal.
I mean, I can't recall you saying any of the other goals were good goals.
I said it was a great goal. It was a great goal. I remember it. Right at the near post, at the front. We call it the first post here.
Right.
The goal you mean the goal at Ayresome Park?
Yes.
Quick feet, boom, in the roof of the net.
Yeah.
Hey, I can remember it.
You can.
And when we went to Villa, you played on the left wing for me.
I did.
You did. We put Rippers up the middle to give McGrath a chase.
I took some stick for you. Were you telling me to play on that left side? You say keep your shape, keep your balance. Obviously, if the ball goes to the outside right, you tuck in one and then you come out again. But I used to get hammered. You're lazy so-and-so, Slaven. Could you used to say keep your balance, keep your shape, rather than going looking for the ball. I used to get some abuse.
But you did well for us. So tactically we got it right. But the
you
goal,
got it right.
I did say to you, and I think if Eric Pale is around now, which I'm sure he is, if he would say, it'd be written, it was a great goal. Because I've seen it on video. I've probably still got the video of that game actually, and I know you shuffled it from right to left.
Come over for the right hand side.
Yeah, and you shuffled it, and in it went. Yeah, fantastic goal. And tactically we did it right because I think we put Proc on Gordon Cowans that night as well, and gave Proc a job to stop the service from Gordon Cowans, and
it worked a treat.
It worked a treat.
And we got to Wembley first time in the history, and you'd just been there 4 and a bit years. You were sacked. So 4 years. You've got his third, second, first Wembley appearance, top flight football. Did you feel a bit hard done by? No, as a player, I couldn't believe it. I don't think the dressing room could believe it.
I didn't look upon it that way. I just thought I was disappointed, bitterly disappointed. But I think the disappointment comes because you can look back on where you'd been 4 years ago and what had happened through those years, the disappointments, the liquidation, the difficulties and the problems, then the success. And then Wembley, and you would have thought, great, we're going to Wembley. But how do I look upon it? I just thought, disappointment at the time, great disappointment. But what do you have to do? You've got to get over it. You've got to get through it. And I described it afterwards when I was asked about it, before the Wembley final, because I was fired before the final. And I was asked about it, and I said, well, it's like a marriage. Sometimes it ends in divorce. And I thought that's what it was like. Well, we were married as a club, and then it ended in divorce. And so therefore, what do you do after that? Do you still become friends, or do you become bitter enemies? And I'd like to think that, well, I know, I'm still friends with all the people at Middlesbrough who are still there, because I'm not going to carry any bitterness with me in my life. But disappointment, sure. But yeah.
You move on.
Have to. You have to. That's how life is. You have to